You did good, Jimmy. Raising a child that wasn't yours? That takes a real man. The words didn't register at first. I laughed along with the others at the wedding, raising my glass, thinking Uncle Rick was just being drunk and sentimental. My daughter Emma had just finished her first dance, beaming in her white gown, looking like the light of my life, because that's what she always was. But then Rick's words echoed again in my head, slicing through the noise like a razor. A child that wasn't yours. My smile faltered. I stared at Rick. He didn't even notice. He clinked his glass with my wife, Jennifer, and then wandered off toward the open bar, already half-blitzed. I turned to Jennifer. She avoided my eyes. That was my first red flag. She always had a quick smile, a sarcastic wink, some smug comment about Rick being an idiot. Not this time. Her face was stiff, pale. Did you hear what he said? I asked. She laughed nervously. He's drunk, babe. Ignore him. But she still wouldn't look at me. I should have let it go. Should have enjoyed my daughter's big day and drowned the doubt in champagne. But something in me, some primal, icy chill, started curling around my spine. I couldn't shake it. 5 years. 2 jobs. Sleepless nights, no vacations, every damn penny to make this wedding perfect. And now a voice inside me whispered, "You don't even know if she's yours." I stood there in that sea of smiling faces, and I felt alone. The next morning, I didn't go to work. I sat at the kitchen table, my hands clenched around a mug of cold coffee. Jennifer breezed in like nothing happened, humming, hair still curled from the night before. "You okay?" she asked. Yeah, I lied. But I watched her closely. Noticed the way her smile twitched. The way she avoided looking directly at me again. I thought about every weird thing from the past year. Her staying late, at work, the gym sessions that came out of nowhere, the way she locked her phone like it held the nuclear codes. I bought a DNA test that afternoon. And while she was out, I found Emma's old hairbrush in her drawer. It still had strands of hair in it. I don't know what I was hoping for. Maybe I wanted to prove Rick was just a drunk fool. Maybe I needed something to kill the voice in my head before it drove me insane. 2 weeks later, I got the results. 0% probability of paternity. I sat there staring at the page, feeling like someone had yanked the floor out from under me. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat. My mind shut off like a power outage. Everything inside me broke in total silence. Emma wasn't my daughter. Not biologically. And Jennifer had been lying to me every single day for 22 years. The rage didn't come right away. First came the guilt. Had I missed something? Had I been blind? Was I just a fool who spent years working like a dog for a woman who laughed behind my back? The next day, I went through her laptop while she was in the shower. I wish I hadn't. There was a folder. Hidden, but not too well. Inside were photos. Messages. Emails. Not just one man, too. One of them was her old high school boyfriend, Travis. The other? Her stepfather. My goddamn father-in-law. I nearly threw up. There were photos from years ago. One of them dated 9 months before Emma was born. She was 19. He was in his 40s. This wasn't just betrayal, it was sick. Twisted. And she let me raise that child. She watched me cry when Emma was born. She let me name her after my mother. She stood by me when my mom died, held me while I wept, and all along, she was carrying his child. That night, I didn't confront her. I waited. I needed a plan. To burn her down in a way she'd never recover from. Calculated revenge. Not just for me, but for every lie, every fake kiss, every late night she moaned someone else's name while I was asleep next to her. You see, Jennifer didn't just betray me. She played me. And now it was my turn. I watched her brush her hair that morning, humming like always, like the world hadn't tilted off its axis. Jennifer, my wife, the mother of a child that wasn't mine, stood in front of the mirror wearing the same silk robe she wore on our honeymoon. And for the first time, I didn't see the woman I married. I saw a stranger wrapped in lies. "Want eggs or toast?" she asked, her voice light, almost too light. "Toast's fine," I said, forcing a smile. "Thanks, babe." Babe. It tasted like ash. While she cooked, I memorized the way she moved. Calm. Collected. The same ease she probably had when sneaking off to Travis or her stepfather. I wondered how she could live with herself. I wondered how long she practiced the act, looking me in the eye, pretending to love me, while hiding her filth under a layer of perfume and sweet nothings. I didn't say anything that morning. Just watched her pour orange juice with a hand that had probably been on another man the night before. That was the day I started keeping notes. Monday, 7:40 a.m., leaves for work early. Smiles too much. Tuesday, 6:15 p.m. Says she's going to spin class. Comes back at 9:40. No sweat. Hair still styled. Wednesday, 8:30 p.m. Gets a phone call in the kitchen. Laughs like she's 17. Says it's Janice from yoga. Doesn't do yoga. I wasn't just documenting her lies. I was building a case. A fortress of truth around myself. I needed more than emotion. I needed proof. Because when the moment came, I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to beg. I was going to crush her. I hired a private investigator. His name was Kyle. Former military, dead eyes, professional. I gave him everything. Her routine, her schedule, her known associates. Within 48 hours, he had a photo of her kissing Travis in the parking lot of a wine bar 3 cities over. Lip lock. Hand in his back pocket. Her smile wide open. The next day, she came home with a bouquet of tulips. For no reason, she said, planting a kiss on my cheek. For no reason. My knuckles turned white around the stem of the glass I was holding. She saw it. Her smile faltered. Everything okay? Yeah, I said. Just thinking about how I was going to bury you, Jennifer. The worst part? I still loved her in some twisted way. Or maybe I loved the version I thought was real. The woman I built memories with, raised a daughter with, cried beside during hard nights. But that woman was dead. She never existed. Jennifer was a myth I told myself to sleep better at night. That Thursday, Kyle sent me another batch of photos. Hotel rooms, restaurants, parking garages. And the worst of them all? A picture of her and her stepfather in a hotel suite. His hand on her thigh. Her smile, wide, wicked, knowing. I dropped my phone. I felt cold. Hollow. A part of me wanted to scream, but no sound came out. Just silence. Crushing, screaming silence inside my head. This wasn't cheating. This was something darker. A power game. A humiliation ritual. And I had been the clown in the center ring. So I stopped talking to her. Stopped touching her. I pretended to be tired. Work was draining me. I was under the weather. She started noticing. Asking questions. Touching my shoulder more. Her fake concern reeked of guilt. She tried to initiate intimacy one night. I turned over and said I had a headache. She was stunned. For a second, her face cracked. Just a flicker of confusion and, was that panic? Then it was gone. She rolled away, muttering something under her breath. That's when I knew. She could lie to me. But not forever. Because I had everything I needed now. And soon, the world would know what kind of woman Jennifer really was. It was a Saturday morning when I decided to finally confront her. Not late at night, not in the middle of an argument, no. I wanted the light of day on her lies. No shadows. No excuses. Jennifer walked into the kitchen wearing a t-shirt that wasn't mine. Probably one of Travis's, I thought. Or maybe even her stepfather's. My stomach turned. She smiled at me like she hadn't poisoned her entire life. Morning, babe, she chirped, pouring coffee. Want some? I didn't answer. Just looked at her. She frowned. Something wrong. I dropped the manila folder onto the kitchen island with a dull thud. Her hand froze mid-pour. She looked at it like it might explode. What's that? She asked. Open it. She hesitated. Then slowly, carefully, like a child touching a hot stove, she opened the folder. Inside were the DNA results. Photos of her and Travis. Photos of her and her stepfather. Email printouts. Hotel reservations. She stared at the contents in silence. Her lips twitched, her eyes flickered, but no tears, no guilt. Just calculation. Then came the moment of truth. Say something, I said, my voice like steel. She looked up at me and smiled. Not sheepishly, not apologetically. A full, shameless, teeth-baring smile. Well, she said, I was wondering how long it'd take you. That was her first line. Not denial. Not an apology. Just pure arrogance. You've been lying to me for over 20 years, I growled. Jennifer leaned against the counter like she was bored. Oh, come on, James. You're not a saint. You love being the hero. The superdad. You think you didn't enjoy the attention? The pity party when your mom died? Don't act like you were some innocent victim. I worked 2 jobs to pay for that wedding, I said, my voice cracking. For Emma's wedding. Emma's happy, she snapped. She doesn't need to know anything. She thinks you're her dad. So what if biology says otherwise? You were good for the role. Good for the role. Like I was just some character she cast in her little soap opera. Was it all a game to you? I asked. Did you get off on it? Sleeping with your stepfather? Then marrying me and letting me raise his kid? She rolled her eyes. God, you sound so dramatic. Travis was a fling. Gary, Don't say his name, I barked. She raised her hands mockingly. Fine. Whatever. The point is, you were convenient. You had a stable job. You were dependable. I wanted to throw something, break something, but I stayed still. I wouldn't give her that satisfaction. You're a monster, I said. She chuckled. No, I'm a survivor. No, Jennifer. Survivors don't destroy the people who love them. She tilted her head. You're not going to tell Emma, are you? I said nothing. Because that would be cruel, she continued. She's happy. She just got married. You wouldn't want to ruin that, would you? She was still playing chess, still trying to manipulate me. Even now, after all the cards were on the table. I haven't decided what I'll do yet, I said. But I promise you this, whatever happens next, you earned it. She laughed. What are you going to do, James? Cry about it? Write a blog post? Go stay at your brother's place and eat ice cream in a hoodie? That smirk. That smug, disgusting smirk. No, I said slowly. I'm going to make sure the world knows exactly who you are. Her smile faltered just a bit. Good. I'll start with your friends. Then your job. Then your precious stepfather. And if you even think of trying to take Emma away from me, I will burn this entire house down and walk away smiling. For the first time, Jennifer looked afraid. Just a flicker. It felt good. I gave you everything, I said. You gave me betrayal. So now, I'll give you justice. I turned and walked away, leaving her standing there in silence. For once, she didn't have a comeback. And that silence? It was beautiful. The house was quieter than it had ever been. Jennifer didn't speak to me after that morning. Not in words, at least. She'd moved through the rooms like a ghost, slamming drawers louder than necessary, pretending to forget basic chores just to provoke me. But I didn't rise to it. That version of me, the one who argued, who begged, who cared, was gone. Now I was the storm on the horizon. And she could feel it coming. I wasn't bluffing when I said I'd burn her world down. First stop was her job. Jennifer worked at a prestigious real estate firm. She was their top closer, the queen of charm, the woman who could sell a penthouse to a blind man. Her reputation was everything, which made what I had planned even sweeter. I met with her boss, Mr. Langston. Tall, rich, mid-50s, still wearing his wedding ring but not fooling anyone. I have some concerns about your employee, I said calmly. He raised an eyebrow. Jennifer? What kind of concerns? I slid over the USB stick. Photos. Emails. Affairs with clients. One of them may or may not be a felon. Langston looked at the flash drive like it might bite him. Now, I continued, I'm not trying to ruin your company, but I thought you deserved to know what kind of person is representing your brand. He didn't ask questions, just pocketed the drive and thanked me. I walked out knowing that by Monday morning, her professional life would be on fire. Next, her social circle. Jennifer loved her little brunch clique. 3 women she gossiped with over mimosas and low-fat croissants. I knew their husbands. I had their numbers. So I texted them. No lies. No drama. Just facts. Thought you should know. Your wife is hanging out with someone who slept with her own stepfather and cheated on her husband for years. Attached is the proof. What you do with it is up to you. Simple. Clean. Brutal. By that weekend, the calls started coming in. First her friend Karen. Then Melissa. Then Tanya. Jennifer screamed into the phone in the other room like a banshee caught in a fire. I sat on the porch with my coffee, listening to her little empire collapse, one piece at a time. She stormed outside. What the hell did you do? She shrieked. I didn't look at her. Just took another sip. You're destroying my life. No, I said, still calm. I'm just showing people who you really are. She grabbed the mug out of my hand and threw it against the wall. It shattered. She was shaking. You think you're so righteous? So pure? You're pathetic, James. You couldn't handle a real woman, so you're playing little revenge games like a child. I stood up, towering over her. I handled everything, Jennifer. I raised a daughter that wasn't mine. I paid for a wedding that wasn't mine to give. I gave you my soul, and you spit on it. So don't you dare call me pathetic. Her eyes flickered. Rage. Panic. A touch of fear. You're a joke, she hissed. No, I whispered, stepping closer. You're the joke. And it's not funny anymore. She tried to slap me. I caught her wrist midair. No more games, I said. You had your turn. Now it's mine. And with that, I let go, turned my back, and walked inside. That night, I moved all her things into the guest room. No discussion. She came upstairs and saw her wardrobe boxed up, her makeup cleared from the vanity, her framed pictures removed from our bedroom walls. What the hell is this? She demanded. This, I said, is the new arrangement until the divorce is finalized. Her face turned pale. You're serious? I was never more serious about anything in my life. Her voice cracked. And Emma. I paused. She'll know. When the time's right. Jennifer's eyes widened. You wouldn't. Watch me. And then I shut the door. Her cries behind it didn't move me. Not anymore. Because the woman on the other side? She was just a stranger with my last name. And her reckoning had only just begun. 3 days passed before I made the hardest decision of all. Telling Emma. I hadn't seen her since the wedding. She was still on her honeymoon in Santorini, living the dream I'd worked half a decade to provide. She texted me photos of sunsets, of her and Josh grinning with wine glasses, of waves crashing against the rocks. Every one of those messages hit me like a knife. Not because I didn't love her, but because I wasn't sure what I was anymore. Her father? Her placeholder? Was I even real in her story? But she deserved the truth. Not the filtered version Jennifer would try to spin when things finally hit the newsfeed. I wanted her to hear it from me. Calm. Measured. No yelling. No blaming. Just facts. So I waited until they landed. Hey, sweetie, I texted. We need to talk. In person. She replied a few hours later. Emma, of course. Everything okay? Me. It will be. We met at her favorite cafe downtown. The same one we used to visit after her dance rehearsals when she was a teen. Back then, she'd order cocoa with extra whipped cream and talk about boys and dreams and how one day she'd get married on a cliff in Greece. Funny how life delivers exactly what you asked for, and then tears the wrapping paper off with bloody hands. She walked in, radiant, glowing with honeymoon energy. When she hugged me, I held her just a little too long. She noticed. Dad? What's wrong? I sat her down, looked her in the eyes. I have something to tell you, and I need you to let me finish before you say anything. She nodded slowly, concern rising like fog. I took out the manila folder, the same one I'd slammed on the kitchen island in front of her mother. I slid it across the table. She didn't open it right away. What is this? The truth, I said. She looked at me, then down at the folder. Her hands trembled slightly as she pulled it open. She skimmed the top page. The DNA results. Then her brows furrowed. Her mouth parted. No, she whispered. I didn't want it to be true, I said, my throat tightening. But it is. She flipped the next page. And the next. Her eyes moved faster. Her face drained of color. Mom and Grandpa Gary? I nodded. It started before you were born. Maybe even longer. I didn't know. I swear to God, Emma, I didn't know. I loved you from the second I held you. Nothing changes that. Tears welled up in her eyes. No, no, no. This can't be real. Why would she? Why would he? I reached across the table and grabbed her hand. I'm still your dad. I will always be your dad. But you needed to know who your mother really is. She sat frozen, shaking, silent. And then she broke. The tears came fast. Not soft weeping, rage tears. Betrayal. Identity shattering. The sound of a soul cracking wide open. She lied to me. My whole life, everything was a lie, she whispered. I let her cry. People stared. I didn't care. Let the world watch. After 10 minutes, she looked up at me, mascara streaked down her cheeks. I want to confront her. I understand, I said. But when you do, be ready. She'll lie. She'll cry. She'll play the victim. Emma wiped her face. She doesn't get to be the victim. No, I said. Not anymore. When we walked out of that cafe, I saw something in Emma I hadn't seen before. Steel. She wasn't a child anymore. She wasn't just someone's daughter. She was a woman standing on the edge of everything she thought she knew. And she wasn't going to fall. She was going to fight. Jennifer had destroyed her marriage, her friendships, and now her daughter's trust. But she underestimated us both. This wasn't just revenge anymore. This was justice for Emma, for me, for every lie that poisoned our lives. Jennifer must have known something had shifted the moment Emma came through the door. She was still in her robe, pretending to read a book she never had the attention span for. Her wine glass was untouched for once. She looked up from the couch with that well-practiced, innocent expression. Honey, you're back early. How was Greece? Emma didn't answer. She stood at the edge of the living room like she was staring down a venomous snake. Her fists were clenched so tight I could see the blood draining from her knuckles. Jennifer's smile faltered. Emma, you lied to me, Emma said flatly. Jennifer blinked, tilting her head, already shifting into performance mode. Sweetheart, what are you talking about? Don't you dare play dumb. That's when Jennifer noticed I was standing behind Emma, arms crossed, watching like a referee waiting to call the final round. Jennifer stood up, slowly. Whatever your father told you, he's confused. He's been under a lot of stress. DNA test doesn't lie, Emma snapped. And neither do photos. I saw everything. Emails. Dates. Your whole sick history with him. Her voice cracked on the last word. She couldn't even say Gary. Jennifer froze. For once, there was no smirk. No sarcasm. Just silence. Emma took a step closer. You let me grow up thinking my father was this man right here. She pointed behind her, while you knew the truth and chose to lie. To both of us. For decades. Jennifer tried to speak. Her lips moved, but no words came out. Emma didn't wait. You let me name him in my wedding speech. I thanked him for being the man I'd want my future husband to be like. You let me say all that, while knowing he wasn't even my biological father. Tears welled in Jennifer's eyes, but Emma wasn't moved. Don't cry now, she said coldly. You didn't cry when you were in that hotel suite with Gary, did you? Jennifer's legs buckled. She dropped onto the couch like gravity finally hit her. It wasn't supposed to come out this way, she whispered. Emma laughed, bitter and sharp. Yeah? How was it supposed to come out? Over brunch? On my deathbed? I didn't want to hurt you, Jennifer croaked. Emma stepped back. You did hurt me. You just didn't think I'd ever find out. You hid behind comfort and called it protection. That's not love. That's cowardice. Jennifer finally looked at me. Her eyes were pleading now, like I was going to come to her rescue. But I didn't move. You could have told me the truth when I turned 10, Emma said. When I asked why I don't look like Dad. When I started noticing how weird Grandpa Gary was around you. Jennifer gasped. He loved you, Emma. Just not in that way. Emma shook her head in disbelief. You're defending him? Jennifer reached out, desperate now. You're my daughter. Emma stepped back like the touch might poison her. No, she said. You're not my mother. Not anymore. You're just a woman I used to admire, before I found out who you really are. And with that, she walked out. Jennifer sat frozen on the couch, her arms wrapped around herself like she could hold her crumbling world together. I didn't say a word. I just walked over, picked up the framed photo of the three of us from her wedding, and laid it face down on the coffee table. She flinched at the sound. I leaned in close. You didn't just lose a husband today, I whispered. You lost your daughter too. Hope it was worth it. I left her there. Alone. Surrounded by broken frames, unfinished lies, and the cold silence of a house that once held love. Her throne had crumbled. The queen had fallen. And the kingdom would never be hers again. The silence in the house after Emma left wasn't just heavy, it was suffocating. Jennifer didn't come out of the bedroom for 2 days. I could hear her moving around in there, probably trying to piece together a plan, a lie, a new angle to crawl out of the hole she'd dug. But the air had changed. The foundation she built on deception was rotting, and she knew it. I was in the garage when I got the call. It was from a restricted number. Mr. Davis? The voice said. This is Detective Hughes with the City Police Department. We received a report involving a man named Gary Marshall. Are you familiar with him? I froze. Yeah, I said, jaw tightening. I'm familiar. The detective continued. There's an active investigation into inappropriate conduct and abuse allegations dating back over 20 years. Your name came up as a potential witness. We'd like to speak with you at your earliest convenience. Everything stopped in that moment. This wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about justice. I agreed to the meeting. Sat with the detective for over 2 hours and told him everything I knew. I gave him copies of the emails I'd found. Dates. Photos. The hotel confirmations Jennifer had saved in a folder titled Jay's Book Club. Sick. Before I left, the detective leaned over his desk and said, We've been trying to bring this guy down for a long time. You just gave us something solid. And then he added something that made the hairs on my neck stand up. Your wife may have been more of a victim than you realize. I laughed. Not because it was funny. Because it was infuriating. Victim. I snapped. She kept the lie going for 22 years. Lied to me. Lied to our daughter. Slept with the man after she married me. Don't call her a victim. The detective nodded. Noted. When I got home, she was waiting in the kitchen. Pale. Hollow-eyed. Her mascara smudged like she tried to hide the wreckage on her face with a warm mask. You went to the police, she said quietly. I didn't answer. Just walked past her and poured myself a drink. They called me. Said there's an open investigation. You gave them everything? I took a slow sip. I gave them enough. Jennifer's voice cracked. Do you want me in jail? I want you held accountable, I said, turning to face her. You ruined my life. You manipulated our daughter's entire existence. And you defended a man who abused you and kept abusing you because it was convenient. I didn't know how to escape, she whispered. No, I corrected. You didn't want to. Because you liked the power. You liked knowing something I didn't. You wore that lie like jewelry. Tears started falling. But I didn't move. I didn't comfort her. She dropped to her knees. James, please. I've lost everything. No, I said coldly. You're just starting to. The next day, her job let her go. Mr. Langston didn't even bother with a meeting, just a termination email citing reputational damage to the firm. Her friends stopped responding to her calls. Social media turned into a quiet graveyard of deleted comments and removed tags. Her reputation, her image, her entire curated life gone. Emma blocked her number. Gary was arrested 2 days later. The charges were serious: grooming, manipulation, statutory offenses, possible trafficking connections. His face hit the local news like a cannonball. I watched Jennifer fall apart in slow motion. And I didn't lift a finger. One morning, she tried to apologize again. Came into the room with this trembling voice, a crumpled letter in her hand like some broken teenager. I wrote this to explain everything. I looked at the paper, then back at her. Keep it, I said. I'm not your priest. I don't want your confession. She started to cry again, right there in the hallway. But I just walked past her. Because the knife had already been twisted. And now she could bleed alone. The divorce papers arrived exactly 3 weeks after Jennifer's last performance. I didn't even tell her. I let the courier hand them to her at the front door. She must have thought it was another warning letter about Gary's investigation. Her face lit up with confusion, then horror when she realized what she was holding. She followed me into the living room, waving the envelope like it was a death sentence. You really filed? She asked, voice trembling. I didn't look up from my laptop. I told you I would. She stood there frozen, mouth parted like she had something to say, but no words came. That was always her weakness. When she didn't have the upper hand, she folded. The actress without a script. I didn't think you'd actually go through with it. That made me laugh. A sharp, bitter thing that echoed off the walls. You thought I'd stay? After everything? After you took 22 years of my life, shattered my daughter's identity, and humiliated me in front of the world. I was scared, James. No, I said coldly. You were selfish. Her face crumbled. What about Emma? What about our family? I stood up, walked to her, and got real close. You killed this family the day you let that man touch you and pretended it was normal. The day you looked me in the eye and said, I love you, while carrying his child. And every day since then that you smiled and lied. She looked down, couldn't face me, and I was done giving her chances. I moved out a week later, left the house to her, not because she deserved it, but because I didn't want it. That place reeked of ghosts and betrayal. I packed 2 duffel bags, loaded my truck, and drove away without even looking in the rearview mirror. Emma and I stayed close. She came to stay with me the night after I moved. We ate pizza in silence, sitting on the floor of my small apartment. She didn't ask about her mother, and I didn't bring her up. We talked about memories, real ones. I still remember you teaching me how to ride a bike, she said softly. I fell 6 times, scraped my knee bloody, but you didn't let me quit. I smiled. You were a fighter, even then. She reached over and grabbed my hand. You're still my dad, she whispered. No DNA test can change that. And right there, in that tiny apartment with peeling paint and old carpet, I felt peace for the first time in months. Jennifer, on the other hand, wasn't doing so well. Her name was mud in every circle she once dominated. Her social media was wiped clean. She'd tried rebranding, posting cryptic quotes and selfies with fake smiles, but the comments were brutal. You ruined your daughter's life. Monster in a housewife costume. Not even Hollywood could write betrayal like yours. Then, the final blow. Gary pleaded guilty. His plea deal saved him from a life sentence, but he'll still rot for a long time. And Jennifer? She was listed as a known associate in several shady real estate dealings they'd uncovered. No formal charges, yet. But her name's now permanently attached to the man who abused her and who she protected. Emma cut all ties. The last time she spoke about her mother was in passing, when she said, I hope she finds help, but she's never getting back into my life. As for me, I moved to a smaller town, bought a fixer-upper, started rebuilding from the ground up, literally and emotionally. Hammer in one hand, peace in the other. I've started dating again. Nothing serious. But I'm learning what honesty feels like. What peace tastes like. What freedom actually is. If I could tell anyone reading this one thing, it's this. Lies don't just crack the surface, they rot everything from the inside. And when the truth finally comes out, it burns. But that fire? That's how you forge a new beginning. Jennifer thought she could live forever on deception. She didn't expect to be exposed by a single sentence in a wedding toast, or undone by a father who refused to stay silent. But she was. And I'm still standing.